Hello, hello, hello. I am finally back at home with Paul, and we are back from our van round trip. So it was a round trip. We did a circle trip. Drove all the way into the Nevada desert and desert, not dessert. So, anyway, I want to tell the story from the beginning. So, I had a bunch of nervous breakdowns here before we left, and so I finally decided I'm not going back into the chat room because I'm too sensitive, and I needed to go on the vacation and I needed to heal my mental illness. And so the next day we left and I was glad, and we drove 2 hours south of here from this house to go to the audiologist. Paul got hearing aids, which he doesn't want to wear out. That he's like doing exactly what his dad used to do. And he used to complain about that. He's doing the same thing. So because, when he had these new hearing aids in, I was surprised. He was talking real quietly like this, real quiet, and I could hear him, and it was pleasant. So then he decided to take them back out because somehow wasn't adjusted to the road noise and stuff like that. And then he was wearing the ones from Walmart again. And he was talking really loud. And it was really rough for a couple of days until I finally decided to put earplugs in, and that fixed it for me. So, but until then, we had a couple of fights, and I had to keep on saying, "Don't talk so loud," and it was very hard. I have Asperger's. It's loud noises are very hard on my nervous system. So, but how would I rate this van trip? You would have a different answer according to the different points in time throughout that van vacation. Very, very different answers. So, right now, after having slept here again one night and slept good, I can say overall, we kind of tend to forget the negativity of it and then only think about the highlights later on. So that raises the amount of stars that I give this trip, and I would say I give this trip 100 stars. But I'm also realistic because I understand that existence, and I always get back into this subject, existence is not there to cater to us. And I just had a long conversation with Philip about this very, very subject. I'm not going to get into what Philip said because he probably wouldn't want me to say what he said, but I'm going to get into what I said. I said, we got into politics also. I said that you can't just give someone money and then they can just squander the money, do anything he wants to do with that money, and then want more. That was basically, and in the same sense, existence is not here to just pave the way for us and make everything super great, and there's no challenges ever and all of that. then I can say, yeah, the trip was superstar, luxurious, whatever, you know. I can't even say that about the Ritz-Carlton experiences that I had in the past. That I can't give those 100 stars. So, but I give this trip 100 stars, even though it was literally rocky, dusty, cold, uncomfortable, unpleasant, nerve-wracking, and the list goes on. OCD ridden, you know, OCD and camping trips in van don't mix, you know. So, but, you know, it is what it is. Existence is a challenge, you know, so it challenges us to grow, to adapt, to learn. So this is basically what I learned from this particular vacation. I've already known this, but it became very, very clear to me. So existence is about learning, growing, and adapting. These three main things in life, okay? Learning, growing, adapting. That's what existence is about. And if we don't do that, then we bypass the whole meaning of life. The meaning of life is joy, but not in the sense of having everything paved out for us, because then we can't even discern between what is joy and what is not joy. We can't even discern anymore. When people have everything paved for them, they start to complain about totally ridiculous things. They start to complain about very unnecessary stuff that nobody should be complaining about. They start complaining about not getting more from the government and so on. So that's what happens, okay? So life is full of challenges, okay? And we need to face these challenges. We need to dig into it, you know. We need to do mental legwork and physical legwork. You know. We need to walk our path. And we need to figure out how to adapt to certain situations in life. You know, it's a constant adapting and rethinking and reforming and refiguring. Okay, so configuration of situations in life. You know, of the surroundings, of our daily, the physical stuff that we deal with, okay? So, when we're traveling in the van, for example, and a lot of people had to move from an apartment into a van, and the very unlucky ones have to live in a car. And I've seen those people in LA. I've seen homeless people living in a car, sitting up, sleeping. Now that's rough, you know, that's very, very rough. Those are the ones that fall through the grid of governmental help. Those are the ones that don't get affirmative action. Those are the ones that maybe not, they may not be 65 yet. Those are the ones that for some reason had not paid in enough or whatever into their health care from the government or whatever it is, you know. There's a lot of people that fall through that grid. They have it extra harsh. But there are other groups that will not recognize that. They don't care about those. No, they want another 3,000 so they can go and spend it on parties and gamble. The heck with the person in the car. And for them, it's always like me, and whatever, you know, whatever, whoever else doesn't concern them at all. But we live here together. Okay, this is our world. Okay, all the animals, all people, all races should have it good. Not just one demographic, and the heck with everyone else. Okay, and this is a fact. Okay? This is the fact of ethics, and it doesn't help anyone to just feed money into them if they don't know how to manage the money. So that was really what I was trying to get across to Philip. And also I was trying to get this across in general with many people, also in the chat room so many times. I have been talking about this, and people will get really mad at me, and they think this is wrong or something, the way I think, or they accuse me of being a radical conservative or something, and I'm not. I'm not radical politically in any direction. Okay, I'm not this or that. Don't label me anything. Okay, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm a free thinker. I believe in reason. Okay, I believe in ethics. I believe in making this world work that we live in together. You can't just gamble your money away and then you have nothing left for your children, which was really the whole point of the $3,000 governmental, whatever, supplemental governmental support. So, and then your kids go hungry because you gambled it away, and then people say, I don't care, people should do with their money whatever they want to. No, absolutely not. Existence is challenging. Okay, we live in this world, we exist, and we have to make it work. Okay, we can't just override someone else, like override other people, other beings. You can't just bulldoze wetlands and bird sanctuaries with your ATV because you feel like doing it. You want fun. In the same sense, you can't gamble your money away. You can't just constantly expect money to come to you from the government, from other people who work hard to create that fund. Well, the fund is running out now, and the United States might come crumbling down, and then nobody will get any more SSI or handouts or whatever. And then what? Then you haven't even learned how to make your own existence in a way where you are sustainable, where you can feed your children and yourself and your animals, most of them. Then those people don't even know how to live or how to survive. And so our van trips, and I still call it vacation, but I have to always joke about this because it is it is so much nicer to be at home. But I still give it 100 stars because I learn things. On every single trip, I learn stuff about myself, about Paul, about other people, about existence. And those learning experiences are vital, absolutely vital for my life, for survival training, it's really boot camp survival training. That's what traveling in a Chevy City van is. And this is not exactly a commercial for that vehicle, but you know, for anyone who's interested in our vacation, in the end, you will probably think, after all, that city van is not that bad. You know, it is actually a pretty wonderful vehicle. You know, it is wind resistant, storm resistant. Two people can sleep in it upside down, sort of. You know, like one has the head where the other person has the feet. I have kind of wide shoulders. I have to sleep with my head towards the door, and so it took us a long time to figure it out. But we figure it out. It's just a matter of learning, growing, and adapting. That's all it is. It might take 5 van trips that are extremely uncomfortable until we say, well, we gotta change this around. We gotta do better. We gotta figure out a way to make this work. Can't you buy a bigger van? No, they can't. They're not even available. So many people buying vans, right? And the Mercedes-Benz one costs like 150,000, and that is a little bit on the expensive side. But this Chevy City van is really great. I really like it. It's uncomfortable, but I like it. It serves its purpose. It teaches me stuff, you know, and I feel safe in it. It is wonderful. You can lock the doors. You can still have air coming in if you want to. And so it's really great. It's very versatile. It looks like a work van. It looks like we're state park officials. So that all helps, you know. So it's really great. A larger van would be more obvious as a camper van, of course. So this worked for Kenny. He really got this van for Kenny, our Great Dane, so he has more space. Kenny never got to travel with us because that would never work, to travel in this van with 2 people and a Great Dane who weighs 220 pounds. So that would never work. But at least we got to go hiking with Kenny, and he had it more comfortable. And the papa really liked the van. So, and now it serves our life now very well. For shopping it's perfect. It's perfect for transporting, and for traveling it works as well. And so we adapt, you know. It's like growing, learning, adapting. And this is great, you know. There are moments where I feel like I cannot stand living like this. I get nervous breakdowns and stuff like that, and I do, and I cry. But lucky for me, I can cry, and then I cry it out, and I cry my way through it, which most humans can't, because they have been told that they can't cry, particularly men. Men have it the absolute worst with that. I think the only time Paul ever cried, well, the only times Paul ever cried was when the dogs died, of course. And one time he cried when we had a fight, and I left and I went with someone else. That was a long time ago in LA. He cried on someone else's shoulder, and that's good that he did. But there are men who can't cry at all, can't allow themselves to cry at all, and that's really, really bad. That's really awful. I have seen 40-year-old men cry very, very deeply and pitifully at the center in LA, and they work their way through their emotions. Afterwards, they hugged each other, 2 straight men, and they were really sweet towards each other. They made friends again. They were in a fight before, and they cried their way through, and it felt so much better for them after that. Most men could never do this. Most men are drilled certain ideas about their identity, and that's also what I mentioned in the conversation with Philip, that the corporate agenda drills these images further into people because they profit from it. They make money by selling all kinds of things like Harley Davidsons, guns, specific trucks, and so on, that all feed into that self-image. The meat industry lives on that, on keeping people perpetuating this self-image in men. And they somehow link this up with manliness, and I could just go on and on and on with those kind of details, but I don't want to. I want to talk about the trip. So after the audiologist, and I'm not going to say where it was, of course, because I have haters who want to kill me, and this is not a joke, okay? After the audiologist, we went east, and all I'm willing to say is that is a supposedly haunted highway, because there's a lot of abandoned log cabins and stuff, and including an abandoned lumber mill or paper mill. And I would have never driven down into this, but Paul said, why don't we drive down? And we did, and I was a little uneasy. I thought, oh, aren't there people? And then there was nobody there. It's all abandoned. Then there's some kind of delivery truck van parked there. He looked at the license plate. That was from 2001. That had been parked there for 20 years. That was the last time someone came down there just to dump that truck. Everything else looks older than that. Everything else looks like maybe from 1940, 1945, 1950, like just after the Second World War or something. That's what this all looks like. It's all weathered away, and nobody had been there recently. If they had, they would have left cigarette butts or broken glass. That's what a lot of people do in a lot of places, particularly in places where there are animals or children stepping, often barefoot, near springs or pools and stuff like this. It's infinitely sad. But here, in this abandoned lumber mill, paper mill, there was nobody there. Nobody had been in there. And I thought, since this looks a little bit like Slender Man could visit, or Bigfoot, or Jetis from another galaxy, or Norman Bates, or Freddy Krueger could live there too. I mean, seriously. So, or we watched one horror movie one time. It was a long time ago. I don't watch horror movies anymore. There was a horror movie with a guy that had a meat hook for a hand. So, and then I saw there were a bunch of meat hooks hanging on the side inside of that delivery truck. And Paul walked over there and smelled, and it smelled very, very moldy. I didn't even go over there. I was too afraid of the mold. But all of this, as unsettling as it looks, I don't know why, but I felt 100% safe there. I felt not just safe there, I felt like, wow, this is good energy. Norman Bates. This is good energy, man. I can't believe it. meat hooks there even. After what my hater told me, even with the meat, I can't believe it. How amazing I felt, you know. I was like, suddenly my brain, it was really weird. It was like some kind of, I got into like a peace area. Like the environment, everything pristine and no trash. Nobody's been there in a long time. No trash around, no baby diapers or condoms or feminine pads or old tampons or broken glass, you know, the kind of stuff that people will dump and make it uncomfortable, make it nasty and miserable for other people. I would never, ever dump anything. Okay. Ever. And I appreciate that so much about Wanda Hussey, who travels in her, I don't know, truck, van. She has a larger, I think it's an SUV that she has, and she sleeps in it, made it comfortable, and she likes to go out to hot springs. She makes videos on YouTube, and I talked to her once. I wrote back and forth with her, and she always makes sure to never ever leave anything behind. Okay? Leave nothing behind but your footsteps. Okay? That's very important. I leave my Bigfoot footsteps behind, and that's it, and nothing else. Okay? Whatever you have there, when you're eating something, pack it back in. It's very, very important. The animals, nature will thank you for that. Okay? So many people that pollute, that just litter, make everything dirty and uncomfortable. But at that place, that sacred place, nobody had been there in 20 years. People think this is some kind of commercial, governmental place that is off limits, and they can't go in there. And I would not have gone in there either. I would have been very, very nervous. I saw these 3 semi-trucks parked at the front, and they looked like they were guarding that property. I thought there were people sitting in those, and they're just abandoned. And so Paul drove all the way into there and all the way around that entire property until he came to the last humongous factory hall, but the walls must have rotted out or something. They didn't have walls. It only had these supportive, like 12 by 12 wood beams that were probably pressure treated because they didn't rot, and some steel enforcements, and very, very, very strong structures, but the walls had rotted out. And a huge property, I don't know, probably at least 20 acres, maybe 50 acres. And then a beautiful nature trail that we saw that from Google Earth, that goes all the way around the property towards a river, and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Everything's surrounded by streams and rivers. It's all moist, and there is everything. The grass is fresh and green, even though nobody is watering anything. The groundwater must be very, very high, so to feed the roots of the grass. And the blackberry bushes and the trees around, lots of trees. Very stable climate, okay, not fluctuating, so just the perfect climate. Not arid and not maritime. It's just right in between. It's not the cold Alaska wind. It's not the maritime climate with the strong winds and the coldness. but it's also not desert, so it's just perfect. That's what the Bigfoot monster likes, you know. So no, but yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous, and I felt like, wow, here I could live here. I can, for sure, if I live here, I can heal my mental illness. I told Philip about it. I was so excited, and he said he does not like abandoned stuff. So, and I guess a lot of people don't like abandoned buildings because they don't know what might be there or who might come there or whatever, you know, Norman Bates and Freddy Krueger and ghosts. So there could be ghosts, and there were metal pieces banging together against the side of the buildings in different places by the wind, and it was creaking and cracking and banging and pounding, and you think, oh, Freddy Krueger came back with his meat hook, and he is pounding that into the wall. And I was looking like, wow, Slender Man is there? No Slender Man, no Freddy Krueger, no Bigfoot monster. It's just the wind, the heavenly child, like in that fairy tale, Hänsel and Gretel from Germany. The wind, the heavenly child. That's what it is. But maybe some ghosts, maybe some energies. Not all ghosts are bad, you know. So coming back here, I have breathing problems again. You know, when I was at that property, I felt really at ease. My breathing was better. I was breathing more steadily. My brain was calming down. The OCD got better suddenly. I felt really at peace there. The sun was shining. And it was so beautiful there, and so like a fairy tale, you know. Oh, blue god. Fairy tale. And I know the blue god is watching over us and protecting us, and we're in the blue god bubble. But of course, you know, existence is not like now everything is laid out for you and you have to do nothing, no work at all, and everything is just easy. No, that's not how existence is. Even if it is all laid out, actually, matter of fact, it's reversed. The more that is catered to a person, the more difficult existence becomes. I know this firsthand because my brother and I, we grew up where my parents really took everything out of our hands. We had to do nothing. And then sooner or later it will catch up on you. Existence will catch up in the way that something, the situation changes at some point, okay, sooner or much later, okay. The later, the worse, actually, because then people don't know how to function. They don't know how to manage. They don't know how anything works in society, or in politics, or in commerce, or in daily maintenance and existence. So they don't know that money doesn't come out of a bank or an ATM machine. It comes out of good management. It comes out of saving. It comes out of working. It comes out of thinking about the future, thinking about all these points in time into the future, not in the sense of now I have to be this, I have to control my life. Some people go overboard with that. No, but in the sense of let me plan, let me make reasonable plans for my life, for my future. Yeah? So, what is going to happen 20 years from now? How is my life going to be? How is the economy going to change? How is politics changing? What if another regime takes over? We would be very lucky if China takes over instead of the Muslim agenda. Okay? But we don't know. We need to think about all of these things. We need to have plan A, B, C, D, and so on. Okay? We need to think about all these different what if, scenarios that can happen in the future. It's very important that we do. I call that empowerment. If you don't think about the future, you're at the mercy to other people. If you have no plan, other people will have a plan for you, and I heard this a lot lately. Okay, and that's the truth. Other people that may not be so compassionate have a plan for you to put you into their world as a slave, physically or mentally or psychologically make you a slave. They make you a market slave. This is happening all the time. People need to look at these things from the sky perspective, and they need to start really, really questioning everything around them, everything that they have been told. Because whatever you're told is told to you for a reason, in order to make someone else rich, in order to feed into an industry or corporation or corporate agenda. It's the truth. This is the truth. I've studied this long enough now. But at that lumber mill, I felt like, okay, this is heaven. This is truly, truly heaven. This is so incredibly beautiful and natural. This is what we've always wanted. So, last night, I was looking for that property on Google Earth. I couldn't find it. I was looking and looking and looking. Today, Paul went on it. I had the feeling Paul would find it. He found it. He actually found it on Google Maps. I was on Google Earth. Maybe that's a little bit more difficult to find it there. He went to Google Maps, and because Google Maps, if you put that into Google search, Google Maps has everything laid out, and it has these two versions. It has the map version where you see all the street names and everything, and you can zoom in and out also, and you can also put it on aerial photo map, so aerial photo from the satellite perspective. So you see the photos, and you can zoom in, and you can dive down to it up to a certain point where it becomes diffused, but you can see everything. You can see the buildings, everything. You can zoom in anywhere on the planet because of satellite technology, which is really fantastic. So they always update also the photos, and they match these areas with the next one, and they have that precisely all patched together into a whole Earth. Okay. And I really absolutely love it. I love it. I love going on Google Earth or Google Maps and looking up environments and places. You can also learn a lot about the history of certain areas. If you double click, it will show you the history. It will tell you a little bit about the communities and the highlights of the communities. So apparently that lumber mill is not recorded as some kind some kind of historic marker or anything. So it's not listed among any kind of famous houses or buildings that are sometimes listed along those roads. So I don't know what's going on with it, but I finally found it because he found it, so I looked it up where it is. I can't say where it is. And I looked at it today on Google Maps and I am in love with it. Absolutely, the feelings came back when I looked at it. The way I felt when I was there. I suddenly felt I could breathe better when I was looking at it. And I absolutely am in love with that property. And Paul thought if this is for sale, it probably costs millions and millions of dollars. But it can't hurt to ask. So I went to the county recorder and I sent them an email and I inquired on that property and I said, do you know anything about it? What is the status? Is there any chance that this could be for sale? And I hope I get an answer and I hope that somebody knows something about it because I really want it. So that'll be my ultimate dream come true. But, even if we don't get that property, we get to go there again sometime in the future and stay there maybe for a night or two with Freddy Krueger and sleep there in peace with Krueger banging against the walls and all of that. That's okay. It didn't bother me at all. And I'm a real skittish person. So some ghosts they're not hungry ghosts, There are some hungry ghosts out there, but they're usually on the internet. So out there, it's like fairy tale, There may be some remnant type of ghosts that they just like the place. So they hang out, they like the place and they say, you can come here, you're cool, we like you, you're cool, you're psychic, you understand us, you've gone through a lot. They recognize that right away. They like all the animals coming there. The ghosts that live there are cool, so I like them a lot. So, but we didn't stay there for very long. We didn't stay overnight. Paul is always kind of like in a rush a little bit. He found a property for $2,000 out there in the desert. It already had shipment containers on it. We gotta get that. But he never even called them. He never made a deposit or anything. But we were in a rush, so we drove past all of these interesting places down the haunted highway east. So we fought real hard because we didn't agree on where to sleep. Where I didn't feel comfortable, he wanted to stay, and vice versa. And so we finally slept on the first night before the factories. We slept on a plateau, and then after the factory we slept also on some kind of larger parking lot that was there for people, even for semi-trucks to stop and sleep there overnight. And Paul said, I'm not going to go any further than this. And so we already had been driving for 6 hours down that haunted highway. That's a long, winding road. And I got out of the van and I was crying and crying and crying. And I was hollering at him, he was hollering at me. He said, you're talking too loud. Oh, it's awful. I have to go to this tree there. And then I went up to the tree and I put my arms into the branches of the tree and I put my face against the tree and I grounded myself against the tree, hoping that there's no cigarette particles that somehow attached themselves to that tree. And I can't just lie down anywhere in a place like that where people park. It's impossible. It would be impossible for me. I say impossible. That would be unthinkable for me to do that. The other day I saw a hippie lady on a rest stop, lying down right there where people pee and throw their cigarette butts. And she was there playing with her dog, which was very sweet. And then she was lying down on her back and swishing around with her arms and legs on that lawn. And I said to Paul, well, that lady must not have OCD. And Paul said, I don't think so. I couldn't believe it. It was hard to even see that. How can anyone? And then people do that at Burning Man, in that filth. It's some kind of ritual. I think they must have been to Burning Man. So some kind of ritual. You gotta lie down in that dirt and dust with the cigarette particles and swish around. And get your clothes all dirty and all of that. Oh man, I'm maybe a hippie, but I'm a clean hippie. So, but anyway, I'm talking. The time goes by. So, anyway, we slept there, and I grounded myself onto that oak tree. It was wonderful. I think it was an oak tree, real big, gorgeous tree, and I did that several times during that trip. And then the next day, we went to that town where in the desert, where that cheap property is. And as always, we get there on a Sunday when everything is closed. But out there, even if it's a Monday, everything is closed too. So, and then now the pandemic is a super nice excuse to close everything down. We want to have it easy. But eventually he found a realtor lady who was very, very nice, who printed out a couple of properties and maps for him. That was very nice of her. I want him to call her and thank her for that, because then we ended up not getting anything. The property he wanted, she said, was already sold. There you go, if you don't make a deposit. As our realtor Stuart always said, the one we have here, he said, time is of the essence when it comes to real estate. Yes, it is. It's good to see it if you can, but if you can't, if you're like, I don't know, you're like a week drive away from it, it's not that easy. So it's like, okay, you gotta weigh it off, Is it worth the risk to make a deposit or to pay your earnest money to it, to hold that property and to lose the earnest money or whatever, or if you don't like it, or if it goes through escrow and you find something wrong with it, you can probably get the money back. But there's always a risk involved, when it comes to investment with real estate, and that's part of it, So I find this all exciting and nice. But yeah, of course someone bought that. There's shipment containers, like 3 40-foot shipment containers on it already. I mean, they cost a whole lot more than the property itself. So you really basically get it all for free, except for maybe one shipment container. So, and then it's a lot of trouble to get the shipment containers and to have them arranged, have them delivered and all that. So we thought, oh, great, we can skip all that extra work. But obviously, there's a lot of people that are looking for those kind of places right now. You know, they don't want to have to work anymore. They want to get a cheap piece of land, and there's shipment containers on it, and they can already put all of their stuff in it. You know, if they go there, they have to drive all the way across the state, and they bring their stuff, and they might have to go back and forth, so they can just lock them up, and nobody can get to it, and the storm doesn't blow them over, and the water doesn't get in. So they're really, really practical, those shipment containers. And that's what we would use too at the lumber mill or at any property actually that we get. So, okay, so, but it was a Sunday, we didn't want to stay there. We went to, should I say where? Alright, I'm just gonna say it because I already made an artwork about it. We went to Fort Bidwell, towards Fort Bidwell. We weren't all the way in Fort Bidwell. And Fort Bidwell is awesome, you know. So it's all the way out there. All the way out there in nowhere. Like all the way in the very corner, in the northern corner of California, towards Oregon and Nevada border. Okay, so it's right in that, it's cornered by Nevada and Oregon. And there's rolling hills and a lot of cows. And just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous communities where the time stood still. It's really amazing. Fort Bidwell, that's another one of those old abandoned places that I want to buy. But I couldn't find anyone to tell us anything about it. And that fortress, it has imploded by itself. So it is red taped. It is off limits. The public's not allowed to go in there. An owl lives in there. And when we got there, that was on our last trip, the owl came flying out of one window, out of that old fortress on the upper level. And I said, I'm so sorry we woke you up. You know, they sleep during the day. And she might have a nest. A real large owl, like beige with some white spots. Beautiful, huge owl, the biggest owl I've ever seen. Maybe that was one of those Wisconsin great gray owls. Those are amazing, amazing beings, and people mistake them for some kind of cartoon figure, and they shit in their pants out there in Wisconsin. This is also ridiculous. Instead of understanding nature better, you know, how the mother animal feels about her nest and all of this. People don't know anything about the behavior of owls or any animal because they watch horror movies instead, and then they think that's some kind of monster. So I'm just always happy to see wild animals. But we didn't go all the way to Fort Bidwell. We were close on that road, and we asked a man who had a home that looked very much like that fortress, and they're all in that same style. It was built in 1921 after using that same style of Fort Bidwell, and it's kind of like, you know, frozen in time, and some around the turn of the century, 1900, 1920 or something. Fort Bidwell was built in the 1800s. I think it was 1885 or something like that. So a long time ago. And there's many old buildings that are very, very, very gorgeous and beautiful, and some antique lovers, they buy those buildings and they like to live there, far away from the big communities really in peaceful seclusion, and some people really like this. And this older man, he was very nice to us. He showed us his house and took us in the house and did a tour with us. And it was very interesting to see. Very, very lovely. And so he even let us sleep at his property. There we got up pretty early, like 8 o'clock in the morning. We left and we went back the other direction. We went towards the Nevada desert, into the Nevada desert on the other side. And because a storm was supposed to come. And then the storm only happened in that very area where we slept. So Paul was trying to get away from the storm, and he left the other areas, and the storm just followed us and happened right there where we slept. But it was okay. The city van is super aerodynamic. That's like a round capsule almost, and like a dome house. And it just rocked the van a little bit back and forth. It felt really nice, and there was hail and ice and strong winds, but it was nice. It was really nice. It was really amazing. We slept very long and very good there, out there in the Nevada desert. There's only like 2 feet high, maximally 3 feet high sagebrush is growing. That's all that's growing out there. No trees. Those sagebrushes are very, very, very tough organisms. Okay? They can withstand extreme temperatures. And in between the sagebrushes is clay, alkaline clay type of earth, and it soaks up water and gets muddy. You can put that in your face, and then when it dries up, it cracks. There's a whole lot of cracks all over the place. You see that in Death Valley as well, of course. In all the desert region, you see that. And I love that. Absolutely love it. I love the sagebrush. I made tea with it. It's calming my nerves. So, and then after that, the next day we went to the realtor lady who said that property is sold. And I also helped some animals on that trip. We reported a dog on a chain, and the police said they will go over there. They'll do something because it's illegal in California to chain or tether a dog. And all of us animal rights activists made it happen. Okay? This is what petitions on the internet do, also handwritten, hand-typed, actual paper letters work very well, but internet petitions work 100%. Okay, they can move mountains. They can change the laws. Okay, to make things better for all beings. Okay? And I said to that dispatch lady, it is against the law to chain a dog in California, and it is important to say that you know the law when you make a report. And she was concerned, and she said that they will send someone over there. So that's really great. I also helped a horse to get entangled from wires. Some people are very dysfunctional and they don't maintain the fences. And there was a female horse getting entangled with her hooves in the wires. And I got her out and I secured the wires on the fence so that would not happen again. Okay. So we gave them straw that was there, We fed the horses apples, and then we were heading back, and then we slept at two different places on our way back. And I was inquiring on another property, but that turned out to be in a lake bed which would be flooding, and that's a real nice one, but cheap also. But there's a reason when it's cheap, usually, it floods in the winter, so I had to cancel that. But the real estate lady was very nice. So and then we left, and we went back. That circle, coming back, the real dangerous highway. So, but we made it back safely because the blue god protects us. Okay, I'm over an hour now. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye.